Past Lives of the Buddha, Volume 1, the Apannaka Jataka and the Supreme Dharma. Once at the Jetavana Monastery near Savatthi, the Blessed One delivered a special discourse to the 500 companions of the millionaire Anathapindika, who were initially followers of external sects. One day, this wealthy benefactor led his close friends, carrying numerous offerings such as garlands, fragrant oils, honey, sugar syrup, cloth, and robes to honor the Blessed One. They arrived at Jetavana with deep reverence, performed rituals of salutation, and offered these precious items to the Buddha and the Sangha. After making their offerings, Anathapindika and his friends sat down, earnestly admiring the Enlightened One, whose radiant presence shone like the full moon. The Buddha began to preach with a voice as powerful and dignified as a lion's roar, yet filled with gentleness and soothing tones that captivated all listeners. The atmosphere was truly magnificent and awe-inspiring, like the roar of a lion echoing through the valley, robust and commanding. Buddha's words were like thunderbolts cleaving the clear skies, awakening every soul mired in ignorance. His teachings flowed like the mighty rivers from the heavens, forceful and vibrant, washing away all afflictions and delusions. And like a skilled artisan weaving a strand of precious pearls, each word uttered by the Buddha was a polished gem, illuminating and penetrating the hearts of all who heard. The Buddha's diction was impeccably perfect, each syllable and word rich with meaning and infused with subtle power, making it impossible for anyone to turn away. His discourse was not only sweet and soothing, but also brilliantly radiant, like the light of truth illuminating the darkness, bringing understanding and enlightenment to everyone. The followers and friends of Anathapindika were profoundly moved. Their hearts were cleansed, their minds relieved, and their spirits purified. Thus they took refuge in the Buddha, abandoning their old ways and thoughts. This sermon was not just words, but a miraculous transformation of the lives of all who heard it. They decided to abandon external paths and take refuge in the Buddha, resolutely following him and continually coming to Jetavana to practice Buddhist teachings. After the Buddha left Savatthi for Kapilavastu, months passed without his presence. During this time, those who had taken refuge in the Buddha and followed his teachings gradually broke their vows of refuge. Swayed by temptations and pressures from external sects, they could not maintain their faith and conduct, leading them to revert to external observances, abandoning the path they had chosen. About 7 or 8 months later, when the Enlightened One returned to Jetavana, the atmosphere was significantly more vibrant due to his solemn presence. Anathapindika brought 500 of his companions to meet the Enlightened One. They carried many garlands, fragrant offerings, and other gifts, expressing their respect and affection for the Buddha. The entire group bowed to the Enlightened One and then sat down humbly, their hearts full of remorse. Anathapindika, with a face heavy with sorrow, presented the truth to the Enlightened One. During the Buddha's absence, they had failed to maintain the Buddhist refuge they had once undertaken. They had abandoned the teachings of the Buddha, reverting to the beliefs and customs of external sects they had followed before taking refuge. This was not only a failure to preserve their spiritual ideals, but also a regression in their spiritual journey. This earnest report deeply reflected the fragile faith and fluctuating spirits of those who had not remained steadfast in the face of challenges. It was not just a tragic event for their community, but also a profound lesson about perseverance and loyalty to the spiritual path they had chosen. The Enlightened One, always aware of all matters, spoke as if opening a treasure box, with his words full of power and truth, emanating like the rich fragrance from a lotus, gently inquired, "Dear male disciples, is it true that you have broken the triple refuge and followed an external sect?" Before the sanctity and profound understanding of the Enlightened One, they could not conceal the truth and confessed, "Indeed, we have, revered Enlightened One." With infinite compassion, the Enlightened One explained, "Dear disciples, there is nowhere, from the depths of hell to the heavens, across the countless worlds, where anyone is equal, let alone superior to the Buddha in virtues such as maintaining precepts and others." The Buddha continued to emphasize the importance of taking refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. "Dear monks, Among all beings, whether they are legless, bipedal, or quadrupedal, the Tathagata is called the Supreme. Those who have taken refuge in the three jewels do not reincarnate into the hells, but are reborn in the heavenly worlds and achieve profound meditative states. Then, Buddha cited scriptures to further underline this point. Those who take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha will not go to the unfortunate realms. They will abandon the human body and will be filled with the heavenly realms. The Enlightened One did not just stop at teaching about the benefits of taking refuge. He also explained the importance of following the path of mindfulness and the sweet fruits it brings, such as the stream entrant path, the once returner path, and the arahant path. Finally, the Buddha reaffirmed their mistake and stressed the need to return to the right Dharma. By breaking such a refuge, you have committed a mistake. After that, with a deep and powerful voice, the Buddha began narrating an ancient story, meticulously describing each detail as if painting a picture of the distant past, a story once obscured by time, but now revived by the Buddha. This story was not just a reenactment of events, but also a profound lesson on why one should avoid wrong paths and trust in the wisdom of the Buddha. The Buddha emphasized the importance of steadfastly holding on to faith in the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, in all circumstances, no matter how challenging. As the Buddha narrated the story, the atmosphere became solemn. Everyone listened intently to every word spoken, not daring to miss a single one. The Buddha's story was not only a reminder of the correct path of practice, but also an inspiration for those seeking a way out of suffering. Volume 1, the Apannaka Jataka and the Tale of the Supreme Dharma. Long ago, in the feudal and mighty land of Kasi, there stood the famous city of Varanasi, bustling with affluent and influential merchants. During this era, a bodhisattva, born into a wealthy and noble merchant family, took over his family's business and operated a colossal caravan of 500 carts, traversing east and west for trade. In Varanasi, there was another young and inexperienced caravan leader who lacked the adeptness in adapting to circumstances. This young leader's inexperience often led him into numerous difficulties on the trade routes, unlike the bodhisattva, who consistently demonstrated wisdom and the ability to smoothly resolve any issue thanks to his years of honed experience and wisdom. Under the clear skies of Varanasi, both the bodhisattva and the young caravan leader were preparing for their forthcoming long journey. Each had 500 carts heavily laden with precious goods, neatly and securely arranged, ready for the arduous journey through challenging territories. The bodhisattva, with a thoughtful and overarching gaze, realized that both caravans setting off simultaneously would pose significant challenges, not only for each group, but also for the paths they would traverse. He was concerned that traveling together would deplete resources like water and grass along the way, making the journey extremely difficult and potentially dangerous. With the foresight and wisdom of a true leader, the bodhisattva sent a message to the young leader, inviting him to discuss the travel plans. Upon the young leader's arrival, the bodhisattva presented the situation seriously and proposed a solution. We cannot both go at the same time. It would not be beneficial for either side. So, would you prefer to go first or last? In that quiet moment, the young leader's eyes lit up with unprecedented confidence. He thought carefully about the benefits of going first, hoping that this decision would give him a significant advantage on the challenging journey ahead. He imagined himself as the pioneer on new paths, enjoying untouched water and grass supplies, making his and his caravan's journey smoother. With a decisive tone, he replied to the bodhisattva, "My friend, I will go first." His voice resonated not only with confidence but also with a hint of haste, as if he wanted to commence the journey immediately before anyone could change his decision. The bodhisattva, an experienced and insightful merchant, stood under the shade of an ancient tree by the roadside. His eyes keenly observed the young leader before offering final advice. In his mind, thoughts of traveling later not only seemed a wise choice to conserve resources, but also a way to minimize risks on a long and arduous journey. He calmly stated, "My friend, you go ahead." His voice conveyed a calm assurance, showing his trust in his decision and his capability to face the forthcoming challenges. The young leader, with evident eagerness and excitement on his face, quickly returned to his caravan, ordering his servants to prepare for departure. His enthusiasm and haste created a lively atmosphere among the caravan, as everyone hurriedly prepared for the long road ahead. Meanwhile, the Bodhisattva slowly walked back to his own caravan, pondering over the upcoming events. He knew that traveling later meant facing difficulties left by those ahead, but it also offered the chance to utilize the advantages they had paved. Under the harsh afternoon sun, he meticulously checked every detail of the cart, ensuring that everything was well prepared for the upcoming journey. With meticulous preparation and experienced leadership, the Bodhisattva was ready to face any challenges on the path he had chosen to follow later. The young and inexperienced caravan leader led his caravan through peaceful hamlets, each step taking them into unknown lands ahead. As they entered the borders of various deserts, the atmosphere began to shift from cool and moist to arid and blistering. The eyes of each person became more vigilant, knowing they were entering dangerous lands. Each desert presented its unique challenges, from cunning robbers, lurking wild beasts, waterless lands, terrifying spirits, to foodless terrains. Among them, the waterless desert and the spirit-infested desert were the most fearsome, with each step through them potentially fatal. In this tense atmosphere, the young leader had carefully prepared for the journey. He had placed large barrels on the carts, filled with water, as a precaution for the long journey through the waterless desert. The heavy barrels made the carts creak under the load, but it was a price to pay for survival in harsh conditions. Unbeknownst to him, his preparations were one of his biggest mistakes. He was unaware that these decisions would lead to regrettable consequences not only for himself but for the entire group of people and unfortunate animals accompanying him on this journey. They were stepping into a trap, a life-and-death challenge they were utterly oblivious to. As night fell, the weary caravans, laden with goods but devoid of water, stopped in the heart of the arid desert. The exhausted oxen panted heavily, and the merchants collapsed on the hot sand. Led by the demon Mara, they had unwittingly abandoned their only lifeline, not knowing they were stepping into a deadly trap. The group of the young and foolish caravan leader now sat silently together in the dense darkness of the desert night. The atmosphere was filled only with the heavy breathing of exhausted creatures and the howling wind through empty dunes. Halfway through their journey, the demon Yaksha, residing in the desert, thought, "I will make these people throw away their stored water, weaken them, and then I will devour them all." Then it manifested a beautiful cart with radiant white oxen, guarded by 10 to 12 warriors armed with bows, arrows, shields, and weapons. It was adorned with wreaths of blue lotus and white water lilies on its head, with wet hair and clothes. Sitting on the cart like a lord, its wheels muddy from the road. The entourage before and after also had wet hair and clothes, adorned with wreaths of blue lotus and water lilies, holding bunches of white and red lotus, chewing on lotus stems and roots, dripping water and mud. At that time, when the wind blew in front, the caravan leaders, as usual, sat in the leading cart with their servants around to avoid dust. When the wind blew from behind, they moved to the back cart. Now the wind blew from the front, so the young caravan leader drove the front cart. The Yaksha demon, seeing him approach, parked his cart on the side of the road, greeted him warmly, and asked where he was going. The caravan leader also parked his cart on the side of the road and spoke to the Yaksha demon. "My friend, we are traveling from Varanasi. You are adorned with blue lotus and water lilies, holding white and red lotuses, chewing on lotus stems and roots, muddied as you drip with water. So, it must have rained on your way. Are there lakes full of blue lotuses where you traveled?" Hearing the question, the Yaksha demon loudly responded, "What are you talking about? Just beyond where the dense forest appears, it's all forest with nothing but water. It's always raining there, the lakes are overflowing, everywhere there are ponds full of lotuses." After saying this, and as the caravan passed by, it asked, "Where are these carts headed?" And they replied, "To this place, to that place." "What goods are carried in each of these carts?" "Various goods." Then, as the last cart passed, heavily loaded, it asked, "What is carried in this cart?" "It carries water." "From the start to here, you did well to carry water, but from here onwards, there's no need to carry water. Ahead, "There is plenty of water. Break the water containers to make the journey easier." And it added, "You go on. We must depart soon or we'll be delayed." Then it walked a short distance, disappeared from view, and returned to the land of the Yakshas. The foolish young caravan leader, due to his ignorance, followed the Yaksha demon's advice, had the containers broken, didn't save even a handful of water, emptied everything, and ordered the carts to move on. As they proceeded forward, not a drop of water was to be found. They grew exhausted without water to drink. They continued on until the sun set. At midnight, when everyone had fallen into exhausted sleep, the Yaksha demon returned. Its horrifying form, shrouded by darkness, gradually became visible in the desert. It approached step by step, its red eyes gleaming with malice. Without a sound, it began to hunt, destroying each weak life one by one. The final cries of the people and animals attacked echoed across the desert, marking the tragic end of what seemed like an adventurous journey. With deception and brutal strength, the Yaksha demon left behind a tragic scene, bones and belongings scattered everywhere, carts still full of goods, but no one to steer them. The desert night closed with the demon's triumphant laughter, echoing in the deadly silence of a place once full of hope and life. At midnight, as everyone fell into a tired sleep, Mara returned. His horrific form, shrouded in darkness, gradually became visible in the desert. He approached steadily, his red eyes glowing with malice. Without a sound, he began his hunt, annihilating each weak life one by one. Each final scream of the attacked people and animals echoed across the desert, marking the tragic end of what was thought to be an adventurous journey. With deceit and brutal power, Mara left behind a grim scene. Bones and belongings scattered everywhere, the carts still intact with goods but without anyone to steer them. The desert night closed with Mara's triumphant laughter echoing in the deadly silence of a place once filled with hope and life. This tragic event was not only a profound caution about the importance of wisdom and caution, but also a painful demonstration of the consequences of thoughtlessness and gullibility. The young and inexperienced caravan leader, with his hasty and careless decisions, had not only placed himself, but also his entire group of people and many animals on a deadly path. The desert, which was once bustling with the footsteps of eager traders, now lay desolate. Human and animal bones lay scattered, bearing witness to a massacre without words. The remaining carts, though still intact with goods, had no one to use them, becoming symbols of wealth, meaningless without lives to continue the journey. After thorough and careful preparation, the Bodhisattva began leading the people and wagons into the desert, assuming the role of a true leader. With his deep understanding and extensive experience, the Bodhisattva not only ensured an adequate supply of water for the group, but also cautioned them to be mindful of potential dangers from the surrounding environment, especially unfamiliar poisonous plants. After giving them these instructions, the Bodhisattva set out into the desert with 500 wagons. When they reached the middle of the desert, the Yaksha demon appeared on the path, just as it had before. The Bodhisattva saw it, immediately recognized the situation, and thought, "This place is devoid of water and is called the waterless desert. This being has red eyes, an unafraid demeanor, and casts no shadow." Without a doubt, the foolish and inexperienced caravan leader who went ahead was deceived by it, emptied all their water, became exhausted, and was devoured along with his entire group. But it does not know that I am wise and skillful in my methods. So the Bodhisattva spoke loudly to the demon, "Go away, we are merchants. Until we find other water, we will not pour out the water we have stored. Only when we see water will we be comfortable pouring it out to lighten the wagons." The Yaksha demon walked for a while, then disappeared from sight and returned to the land of the Yakshas. After the demon had gone, the group asked the Bodhisattva, "Master, those people pointed out the green forest over there. Beyond that forest, it always rains. They are wearing wreaths of blue lotus and water lilies on their heads. They are holding bundles of red and white lotuses. They are harvesting lotus roots and stems. Their clothes are wet, their heads are wet. They are walking with water dripping from them. So let's pour out the water to lighten the wagons so we can travel faster." The Bodhisattva, hearing this, immediately stopped the wagons, gathered everyone together, and asked, Has anyone among you ever heard that there is a lake or pond in this desert? Master, no one has heard of such a thing. That is why this place is called the waterless desert. Now, some people are saying that beyond the green forest it is raining. How far can the wind from the rain blow? Master, about 1 league. Can the wind from the rain blow far enough to touch anyone among you? No, Master. How far away can the top of a cloud be seen? About 1 league, Master. Has anyone seen the top of a cloud? Master, no one has. How far away can a lightning flash be seen? About 4 or 5 leagues, Master. Has anyone seen a lightning flash? Master, no one has. How far away can the sound of thunder be heard? About 2 or 3 leagues, Master. Has anyone heard the sound of thunder? Master, no one has. These are not humans, they are yaksha demons. The yakshas came and thought, we will trick the group into pouring out their water, and when they are weak, we will eat them. The foolish and inexperienced caravan leader who went ahead, not having skillful means, was surely deceived by them, emptied their water, and when they became exhausted, they were devoured by the yaksha demons. Their 500 wagons filled with goods were left behind as they were. Today we will see them. Do not pour out even a handful of water. Let us move forward as quickly as possible. Urging his group forward, the Bodhisattva continued until he came across the 500 wagons filled with goods and the scattered bones of the oxen and the unfortunate people who had gone before. The Bodhisattva had the wagons unhitched, arranged them in a circle to form a camp, gave the people and oxen an early meal, and then laid the oxen down to rest among them. The Bodhisattva was not only a wealthy merchant in terms of material possessions, but also rich in spirit and wisdom. It was these spiritual values that helped him and his group safely navigate the harsh desert, making the business journey not just a material transaction, but also a quest to affirm deep human values. After selling the goods, the Bodhisattva and his group began their return journey to the city. They passed through the treacherous desert without encountering any further difficulties, thanks to the careful preparation and strong leadership of the Bodhisattva. Each day that passed, with the valuable lessons they had learned, the group's spirit grew more determined and united. After many long and arduous days in the desert, the Bodhisattva and his group safely returned to the city of Benares, bringing with them invaluable experience. This success was not only the result of caution and wisdom in difficult times, but also a testament to the power of patience and decisiveness in dealing with unexpected situations. Upon their return to the city, the story of the Bodhisattva's wisdom and courage in overcoming the harsh challenges of the desert became a source of inspiration for many. Thanks to his intelligence and outstanding leadership, the Bodhisattva not only succeeded in business, but also earned the trust and admiration of those around him. The return of the Bodhisattva and his group was an event warmly welcomed by the entire city. News of their safe return after such a challenging journey spread everywhere, bringing joy and relief to their families and friends who had been waiting for so long. Armed with the experience and newfound wealth from the journey, the Bodhisattva not only strengthened his position in the community, but also became a symbol of courage and wisdom. This journey was not just an ordinary trading trip, it was a spiritual journey through which the Bodhisattva demonstrated the power of wisdom and compassion in guiding and protecting others. The lessons drawn from this journey stayed with everyone in the group and became an inspirational story for future generations within the community. Ultimately, the success of the Bodhisattva in this journey not only enriched their material lives, but also elevated their spirit, wisdom, and compassion for each individual present on the journey, leaving a deep impression in their minds and souls. This story carries a powerful message about the importance of choosing the right path in life and the significance of truthfulness and righteousness in every action. The Buddha taught that our choices not only affect ourselves, but can have far-reaching consequences for those around us. By choosing to pursue the truth and rejecting falsehoods, we not only find peace and protection for ourselves, but also contribute to the peace of our community and society. This story also emphasizes that, even in the most difficult circumstances, perseverance in upholding the law and righteousness will lead us to liberation and spiritual accomplishment, rather than choosing the path of wrong views that brings negative consequences. The Master used this story to remind us of the value of mindfulness and making wise choices, something each person should remember and apply in every step of their life. Finally, the Buddha's identification of the past lives of the characters in this story not only closes the narrative, but also underscores the law of karma, one of the core principles of Buddhism, showing that every action, whether good or bad, has corresponding consequences. This offers a profound insight into the connection between the past and the present, between choice and result, helping Buddhists apply it to life in order to act with clarity and correctness. After telling this story, the Buddha identified the characters as follows. At that time, the foolish young caravan leader was Devadatta. His followers were Devadatta's followers. The wise caravan leader's followers were the followers of the Buddha, and the wise caravan leader was the Buddha himself. Thank you for listening to this meaningful Jataka tale. The lessons about making the right choices and their consequences are not only valuable life advice, but also profound examples of the noble ideals we should all strive for. If you find these stories meaningful and want to hear more like them, please click subscribe so you don't miss any videos from our channel. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts on this story or any questions you'd like us to address in future videos. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.